Hey friends, it's me, your girl, Kristen Denise, also known as KD, here on day 8 of Black History Month. Now hear me out. I'm going to give you 2 videos today because I did not give you one yesterday for day 7. I did not forget about you. Life be life and stuff be happening. I didn't get a chance to record a video and post yesterday, so I'm going to give you 2 today. You know, double for your trouble. So just know you'll get 2 videos at some point today. The first video I'm super excited about, as always. And I just also want to say, I'm consistently, if you've been watching the videos, I'm consistently highlighting Black women who were pioneers on some way in education. Why is that? Because education, one, is my field. That is where I'm done my study. That's where I've done most of my work, is on some level of education. And it's where I'm getting my PhD. I believe, just like these women believe, that educational is critical to the advancement of any people, but in particular Black people. And so the more that we do to liberate education, to provide liberatory experiences for Black children in education or any other marginalized or underserved group, the better off we can help make their long-term circumstances. I believe that, point blank, period, hands down, no holds barred. You would be hard pressed to move me off of that pillar. Like, if I'm gonna stand on business somewhere, it's probably gonna be with that. That education is liberatory, or it has the means to be liberatory. And so these women and their focus on education and educating Black families, Black women, Black children, was critical to the uplift of the Black community at the time. And I honestly think it's still critical to the uplift of the Black community today. Education is key to long-term success. Education is key to just self-actualization. Like, education is key to liberation, and it does not all have to be formalized institutional education, but we have to be positioned to learn, to grow, to think, to change, to advance, to evolve if we want to get to any of the places that we want to be in life. Now let me jump into today's or the first person of today, who is Maria K. Stewart. She was born in 1803 and she became an ancestor in 1879. And she was the first American woman, Black, white, purple, blue, don't matter, American woman to speak publicly on race and gender. And I love that, because if you, again, the time period she was born was 1803 to 1879. Black people in general don't have a lot of opportunities to speak. Women in general don't have a lot of opportunities to speak during this time period. And she, as a Black woman, spoke, and not only spoke boldly and publicly, but she spoke specifically on the challenges of race and gender. A baddie, if there ever were one, okay? So she was a trailblazing abolitionist, educator, writer, and the first American woman to give public speeches about race and gender. She was born free in Hartford, Connecticut, but she was orphaned at a young age and faced economic hardship. Despite these challenges, she was able to become self-educated and a self-educated intellectual and an activist. And she began using her voice and her pen to challenge the oppression of Black people in general, but in particular Black women. So her boldness in speaking out at a time when women were expected to remain silent in public spaces, sound familiar? Especially Black women, makes her a pioneering figure in both the abolitionist and the early feminist movements. And so her life truly is a testament to the power of courage, education, and self-determination. So let's learn a little bit more about sis and some of her key accomplishments. The first one, again, she was the first American woman of any background to deliver public speeches on race and gender, and is noted as doing this as early as 1831. Okay? She spoke publicly about political issues in general, but she specifically addressed the double oppression of racism and sexism that Black women faced. Her first public speech was titled, "Why Sit Ye Here and Die?" I need to see if I can find this speech online. She delivered this speech at the African Masonic Hall in Boston. She boldly criticized both white supremacy and the Black community's lack of collective action to combat injustice. She said everybody can get it, okay? And she challenged men and women alike to rise above societal limitations and to fight for freedom and equality. And so at a time when women were discouraged from public speaking, her decision to stand at the podium was an act of defiance, just point blank period, in and of itself. She also faced criticism from both men and women because they thought her views were too radical, and others believed women just had no place speaking publicly about politics. Clearly, sis did not care, okay? She also published her speeches later in The Liberator, which was an abolitionist newspaper edited by William Lloyd Garrison. So this also made her one of the first Black women political writers in American history. This woman was doing some things, okay? Her key writings were Religion and the Pure Principle of Morality, which also came out in 1831, the year she gave that first public speech. And here she blended religious faith with calls for moral and social reform, emphasizing the role of spirituality and activism. Again, a place that's super important for me. And then also she had productions of Mrs. Maria W. Stewart, which came out 4 years later in 1835, which was a collection of her speeches and essays, and it made her the first African-American woman to publish political essays. This is dope, right? So the themes of her work, she hit on pretty much three major themes. One was racial uplift. She always wanted to uplift the Black community. She believed that education, morality, and self-improvement were key to the liberation of Black people. She had a strong critique of Black men. Sound familiar, right? And she called out Black men for not doing enough to support the advancement of Black women, urging both genders to work together for equality. And finally, she did a lot of talking about economic justice. As I explained, she became orphaned at an early age and faced some economic hardship. So as she is transitioning to these different stages in life, she's speaking a lot on economic justice and criticized the limited economic opportunities for Black people, particularly Black women. And she advocated for entrepreneurship and self-sufficiency. Sis was that girl. She also became an educator for Black youth. So she faced some backlash in Boston because she had some strong views, and later moved to New York City and then Washington, D.C., where she dedicated herself to the teaching and uplift of Black youth. My heart, right? She taught in public schools for freed African Americans, and she worked as a head matron at the Freedmen's Hospital in Washington, D.C., which provided care and education for formerly enslaved people after the Civil War. She emphasized the importance of literacy, vocational training, and moral development in empowering Black communities. And she was an early intersectional feminist, centering the experiences of Black women long before the concept of intersectionality. She was addressing the unique challenges faced by Black women in America. She stood out because she didn't just fight for the abolition of slavery. She also highlighted the gender depression that Black women face both within the Black community and in just broader society in general. And she challenged white feminists to recognize the specific struggles of Black women and urge Black men to stand beside Black women in the fight for equality. Sound familiar, right? So here are a couple of things we can learn from our good sis Maria Stewart today. Couple things. Speak boldly even when it's uncomfortable. She was unapologetic in speaking the truth even when it was unpopular. She faced criticism, isolation, and rejection, but remained steadfast in her convictions. Like, if it's real, it's true, it is what it is. If you don't like it, change the circumstances. Don't try to silence my voice. And I stand on business on that one. You don't want me to talk about it? Don't give me something to talk about. Hello? But don't be afraid to speak out against injustice, even when it's uncomfortable or when others tell you to stay silent. Whether it's racism, sexism, or any form of oppression, your voice matters. And we can use our platforms like social media, community gatherings, and public forums to speak truth and advocate for change. Center Black women in movements for justice. She was one of the first to emphasize that Black women face unique challenges due to the intersection of race and gender. It is what it is. So when we are fighting for social justice, we must ensure that Black women's voices and experiences are not just heard, but centered in conversations around racial, gender, and economic justice. And we need to support organizations and movements that prioritize intersectional feminism and uplift Black women's leadership. Okay? And education is the key to liberation. You know, I stand on this 10 toes down. She believed that knowledge and education were essential for Black people to achieve freedom and equality. It's not just about personal advancement. It's a tool for community empowerment and resistance. And so we need to continue to advocate for equitable access to quality education, support mentorship programs, and invest in lifelong learning for both yourself and our community as a whole. And finally, self-reliance and economic empowerment. She understood that economic independence was critical for Black liberation. She encouraged Black people, especially women, to pursue business opportunities and create their own paths to success. Economic justice is a core part of social justice. Building Black-owned businesses, hey, Black History Month, and supporting economic empowerment initiatives can help strengthen our communities. Don't just stop shopping at Target. Make sure you're shopping with these Black-owned brands directly, okay? And support Black-owned businesses, invest in financial literacy, and advocate for politics that promote economic equity. That's it. That's all. So remember, do what you need to do to be more than okay because you deserve to be more than okay. Absolutely do what you need to do to live a life you love because you deserve to live a life you love. And let's be like our good sis Maria Stewart and advocate for the things that make our community as a whole better and not just change our personal circumstance. Both things are necessary for overall advancement. Love you. Mean it. Bye.